Testing, testing. All right, we're going to call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, February 6th, 2023. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And roll call, Lisa.
Tim Petrie.
Here.
Jason Ring.
Here.
Bonnie Shimalunas. Here. Scott Steckmesser.
Here.
Adam Mahowski.
Here.
Jeff Dalkey.
Here.
Tracy Coach.
Here.
Bill Leclerc.
Here.
Darla Leclerc. Here. All present.
All right, we can skip over number 4, seeing we are all here. And we'll move it right on over to number 5, which is a public hearing. And we have a public hearing on a proposed conditional use permit for 1010 34th Street for operation of mini storage and business incubator service, Growth Garage. The recommended action is a motion to approve the conditional use permit as recommended by the Plan Commission. Greg, maybe a little background before we open it up.
Elizabeth, you
Or
want to
Elizabeth?
provide the background on this? Yeah, this is coming tonight with a recommendation for approval by the Plan Commission with conditions, as usual, as stated in the proposed conditional use permit in your packets. And Elizabeth, our Planning Community Development Director, can provide background.
This CUP conditional use is required, the permit is required for the use of mini storage, and that's what this permit is for. What is being proposed at 1010 34th Street, which is a corner parcel, and in your packet was a map that was included to show you the conceptual layout of the proposed project. Has orange buildings and then 3 purple buildings. So as Greg alluded to, city manager alluded to, that there is a proposed growth garage component. That's the title of it, for an incubator space. And for those of you who are not familiar with that concept, it is a support system for new businesses. So they provide assistance for new businesses or entrepreneurs who are trying to start their business, but they need a little bit of help. So usually that help is in the form of administrative assistance, conference space, shared services of that nature to get their business off the ground. So in the purple buildings there on that conceptual layout is, I hope you have color, but if you don't, I can hold it up.
It is. Yep.
Okay, is where the incubator space would be. But again, the conditional use that we're really acting on tonight is for the mini storage, because in every zoning district within the city, mini storage is a conditional use. So these two are tied together for the proposal. So that's why you have the entire thing put before you today. So.
And the growth garage component is kind of excited. Those are 3 1,000 square foot.
It
spaces.
definitely is. And I did calculate that, correct. It's about
Something
12.
on that order anyway.
Right, they are, it's 1,200 square feet per building, so we're looking
Okay.
at about 3,600 for
1,200 per.
total of the incubator space that's outlined there at this point. Plan Commission will be looking at their site and architectural plans at the February meeting for the proposal.
Just for reference, some of you might recall the old cinder block building that used to stand out there
Tinies.
on Lincoln Avenue at 34th. This is on that property.
They will have a lot of good landscaping to help the site look more attractive as well, because we know that's an entryway into our community from Lincoln Avenue.
As sometimes happens through dialogue, the Plan Commission actually expanded slightly upon the hours as proposed by the applicant, but still trying to be respectful of the nearby residential uses. So you'll note the growth garage or the business incubator space, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Access to the storage units, 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week, because you never know, you might have your boat stored there and want to get out fishing early, or something that would require fairly early access. But the access, there would be no access or operations from 10 p.m. until 5 a.m.
Okay. Thank you for the background on that. We will open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to address this particular topic, please step up to the podium, my right, your left. State your name and address for the record. Opening up the first call. Closing the first call and opening up call number 2. closing call 2 and opening up the third and final call. All right, we're going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to look for a motion to approve this. Thank you, Bill. Do I have a second? Jeff? Thank you. Any council discussion? All right, seeing none, roll call vote. Lisa?
Jason Ring.
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas. Aye. Scott Steckmesser.
Aye.
Adam Mahalski.
Aye.
Jeff Dalkey.
Aye.
Tracy Coach. Aye. Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Darla Leclerc.
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
All in favor.
All right, very good. We're going to go to number 6, which is input from the public. Anyone wishing to address the council on something that's on this agenda or something they'd like to see for a future agenda, please step up to the podium again, my right, your left. State your name and address for the record. Input from the public.
Actually,
Oh, you're an invite. You guys are invited guests.
You're invited.
Yep, you guys are on the agenda. All right, seeing no one for input from the public, we're going to move on to 7. Council communications, letters and other communications from citizens that any council member would like to share. Bill?
Yeah, I had a question from a relative of mine who runs a fishing business. He's concerned about what's going on with our harbor situation.
Or is no progress to date on improvements to the harbor?
Right.
Okay.
If I explained to him about the $20,000 study that's going on, but if we have anything happening.
Yeah, no, all I can tell you, I reached out to the planning section of the Chicago District of the Corps of Engineers. I think it was Monday of last week. First, I'd left a message for the planning chief, but then when I Googled her to see if I could find an email address, I found she'd retired on January 23rd. So I spoke to somebody else in planning who's passed my contact information along to the new planning chief, and it's on my list for this week because I have not heard anything back. That was regarding what we were informed of darn near a year ago, that there was money in an appropriations bill for a small amount of spending compared to what we need, but $20,000 for the Corps to make a determination of federal interest. In other words, some preliminary step to determine, yes, there's a federal interest in making further improvements to the harbor. So it's languished for a while. I did just make that outreach last week because we had raised that when the Corps staff from Chicago did a field visit here last year, followed up once on that, didn't hear anything back after a conversation. So that was as of last week. I'll include an update on the next agenda as well. So.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, that was January 30th. So actually it was last week, Monday. Yeah.
Jeff?
Yeah, I have a few again. So we've talked about the golf carts, and they're all for the increase in the fee that we hadn't had on there. And another one is, and I agree with this one too, they should have 2 headlights and 2 taillights, not just one. That way you know what they actually are. Otherwise you can't really tell. I got a couple people that were they contacted me and they were complaining about the convenience fees to pay for stuff online. And I can kind of see their point. Well, actually I can see both sides of this coin because I know there is a fee for the city, but it does seem to be kind of a pain that you have to pay for that. You know, it's convenient, but at least they're getting paid on time when they're paying the stuff online. So that's a 2-way street on that one.
You kind of see a lot of people doing that though nowadays. I mean, restaurants and all over where they add that percentage back on. It's kind of, I mean, nobody likes to get taxed with fees. There's no question about it. But at the same time, then we lose 3%, you know, and what we're kind of selling at wholesale to the public.
Or viewed another way, everybody else carries the cost of the convenience of not having the convenience fee. So that's at least been the sticking point in the past. Hey, I don't use credit or debit card to pay my bill, to do the online transaction. Why why city are you eating the cost for someone that chooses to?
Is there a fee for automatic withdrawal for like ACH?
From your checking, where
Dave?
where you get the bill and then it hits? No,
Yep,
There's
there's
not.
not.
It's
So
not a
that,
charge for that. Ah. Okay.
so so there's another option that's cheaper if you want to have it just taken right out of your checking or savings account.
I'm sorry, Jeff, you
ACH.
had any other comments on that? It's kind of an old chestnut we've kicked around more than once, the idea of, does the utility eat the fee like obviously most retailers do? Although, like you say, increasingly you're seeing places charge a convenience fee for that.
You see it more commonly now. Even people that have signs or even on your receipt when you get it, there's that added fee. But ACH sounds like it's cheaper. It looks like Dave's gonna come up and speak to that.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify because we've got so many different options. If you sign for, get the terminology, direct withdrawal from your account. In other words, like for your utility bill, that if you sign up that says, here's my account information, and yeah, go ahead and take it from my account each month, you'll get a bill that has an amount that says this is going to be paid by your withdrawal. That is free. And I think that's what Greg was alluding to.
Yeah, that's what I was referencing.
Then there's also the direct withdrawal from your account that the customer is authorizing each time, saying, okay, yeah, I can go ahead and pay my utility bill. That has that dollar, and it's less than $2. Let's just put it that way. Fee for that transaction, because again, it's coming directly from your account, but the customer has that control. And then there's the third option of a credit card payment that you're doing online. That is where there's the convenience fee, and that whole convenience fee is going to the credit card company, the processing company. We're not getting any of that convenience fee. So that, it's all of that fee is the convenience fee.
So there's one free way to do it, I guess. If they sign up for that one and waive the option to say yes every time, they could get it for free and then be really convenient.
And good old fashioned mailing us a check is still free. And good old fashioned cash, we take that too.
Thank you, Dave.
I'll pass that on to them. And then there was one more group of people came up to me. I was out eating on Saturday afternoon. And they want to know why we're going to spend $70,000 on a director of tourism when you could save an awful lot of that and give money to Main Street and have Main Street take care of that as well as Main Street. I mean, they had a point. I mean, there'd be a $50,000 savings in there if you could put $25,000 into Main Street and just piggybacked off of that.
I guess
Any
my
thought on
quick
that?
response would be that is an option the Room Tax Commission is mindful of. That also assumes that Main Street for a very nominal amount of money has nothing else to do, or maybe that's putting it a little too bluntly, but has excess capacity to handle a lot of responsibilities in the tourism realm. So I don't know that the math works quite as was stated. And then you also have staff that is answering to two different boards, a Main Street board, a Room Tax Commission, and we are in the process of forming a 501c6 to handle a lot of the tourism policy making, with the Room Tax Commission just having oversight. So I don't think it's an apples and apples argument. I mean, the Room Tax Commission could contract with any number of entities, I assume to be the tourism entity.
Right, so this is not a taxpayer funded position. It is funded through room tax, which is something that all the visitors that stay in our hotels, Airbnbs and such pay that extra tax no matter where you go. They have that usually in the state of Wisconsin. All that money that gets collected from them goes to the room tax, and they're taking this out of their budget. It's not going to be an extra added personnel to the city's actual payroll, although it's going to be done through the city, but it's not tax dollars.
The intent last year and this year with the Room Tax Commission, last year contracting with, this year planning to contract with Main Street for downtown visitor information services, was that it would help fund a part-time position. Again, It's a little awkward. I'm on the Main Street Board. We have a council member that's the Main Street Director. But I don't think there's the equivalent of a full-time position or anything close to it sitting idle at Main Street. So it's just a matter of, oh yeah, send them the money and they'll do it. Plus, there's a governance issue because you've got totally separate boards. Elizabeth?
Could I just
Please.
add, because I'm not on any
Sure.
board?
Yep.
Just that the Main Street organization has a mission that is different from what a tourism director's mission is. While if we had a Venn diagram of circles, there would be a part that overlapped. So there is some commonality and common mission and purpose, but they are also very different. So we need to keep those things in mind when we think about this position and the purpose of it. So there's similar skill sets that we definitely would, let's take away what this director has previously done for our Main Street now, and keep that out of this consideration, but just keep in mind that the tourism entity that we are creating has a different mission, and the board of directors, we are creating a 501c with the intention that it is a separate organization. But to Greg's point, the employee will be hired through the city to be able to offer benefits that we could not offer in any other way to attract the best talent that we can.
Thank you. That help?
Thank you.
I can report back to them.
If they have further questions, I'd be happy to talk to you or the individual. Yep.
You gotta remember, separate and health. The city or taxpayers don't really fund it. They'll look at it.
They understood all that.
Well,
They just thought, save money. I understood their point. It made perfect sense to me. But
well, you gotta remember too, last year we had a part-time director that growing, and now we're gonna have a full-time director.
Our neighboring city has 3 full-time employees in that capacity. We're, as authorized by the Room Tax Commission in the budget, we have 1.5 that we're eager to fill. Again, though, I would certainly emphasize to that person too, separate missions, separate governance structure. And oh, by the way, I can tell you from my service on the Main Street Board, the staff that Main Street has a full-time job and a full plate as it is. So it's not as magic as saying, oh, just add it over there. It'd be like saying just, okay, how about the fire department handles tourism? Well, that's a little further off, but they're fully engaged in their mission.
Okay, was that it, Jeff, or do you have others?
that's it.
That's it. Anybody else? Council communications? All right, seeing none, we're gonna move on to number 8. Council reports from boards, commissions, and committees. Anyone have anything they'd like to report on from their respective boards, commissions, or committees?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
Well, let's kick it over to Tracy. We'll fire that right up.
I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the EAB tonight. We have several things going on, and here are my notes. We are actually meeting next week. No, the week after is our next official meeting. But what's transpired since the last one in January is that Darla and I, Darla chairs it, I'm just a member, are going to a seminar put on by the DNR this Friday up in Green Bay. And it's primarily to provide resources and programs available for larger farming units, you know, the kinds like the dairy, large dairy corporate farms and stuff. So that keep things contained. And we thought we would just get some information and ask any questions, because our TMDLs, which have not been set by DNR yet, will be coming out probably in 2020, into this year, maybe 2024. And when they do, one of the things that they're going to be looking at is all the sediment and the phosphorus that's coming off of the farms. And
From elsewhere.
yeah, elsewhere. So this way we would be able to maybe come up with some ideas other than spending millions of dollars on stormwater.
Good.
So that's the intent there. You will, February 20th at the next city council meeting, we we will be bringing forth on the agenda, pretty sure, right? It's coming on the 20th, that, about the proposal for the program for the front yards, vegetable gardens. It's a pilot program, and we'll make sure that you get all the information on that. And we'll have to vote on whether or not we want that to go forward. Then in your utility bill this month, you will be getting, the insert this time is from the EAB. And it'll present different opportunities for the residents, Two Rivers residents, to learn, provide them with resources. There'll be links and little bits and pieces of info in case you want, on how to engage in a more sustainable city. Could also help you reduce, costs at home for utilities and such. Let's see, oh, and one last thing, our winter educational series, I think that the last one is tomorrow.
Not the last one.
It's not the last
No,
one,
we have
but we did get
two more
more.
after tomorrow.
Two more. Okay. Well, there is one tomorrow. So if you have time at 6 o'clock to go over to our fabulous Lester Library, and I know Greg's got it in his report, so
It's even more good stuff about our fabulous Lester Library.
yes,
That's
our
right.
fabulous library. But the EAB is very active, and I invite anybody of any age, teenagers, whatever, you're thinking about the environment, this is the committee for you, because we're expanding what it originally was established for, and embracing the change that's coming, actually the change that's here, and how we as a community can weather it, pun intended, a little bit better.
Okay, thank you.
Just one note on the front yard gardening. There may be I believe it will be on the Plan Commission agenda again next Monday. So there may be an intermediate step of needing to amend the zoning code to allow for the pilot project, but that would be just an added step along the way. Well in advance of growing season, because I know there's plans for some educational efforts there on container gardening, raised bed gardening, whether you're doing it in your front yard, backyard, side yard, wherever. And I think Grow It Forward has made themselves available as a resource for that. So there's some good stuff coming out of the EAB. And we do have an appointment on the agenda tonight of a new citizen member, and we do have another vacancy that currently looking to fill on that board.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Anybody else? Darla?
All right, I've got Main Street. And just to remind people that Sweet Street is going to be this coming Saturday. What it is we would typically have 2 wine and beer walks a year. We had a spring one and a fall one. And it was decided by Main Street that instead of having 2 of the beer and wine walks, that we still have the one in fall, but for the spring, something that'd be a little bit more family friendly and bring people downtown, and that's to have Sweet Street. And tickets are, it's Saturday, February 11th from 10 to 3. Tickets are $10 and can be purchased at Schrader's or the Main Street office on Washington Street. And right now we have 12 businesses who are participating in this. And you just go from, it's the same concept as the wine walk. You go from business to business, the businesses that are part of it. And yeah, you can get some really good things to eat. So, I think it's definitely worth it. So, and then we have the Great Trivia Contest coming up. That's on March 10. And doors open at 6. Trivia starts at 7. Food will be provided. It says you do not have to be a genius to play. So
I'm in, huh?
yeah. I'm glad you said it and I
Yeah,
didn't.
right.
And it's a fun event, and there's prizes for best team theme. And we'll get you more information on that later, because some people are just very super clever and creative as to what their team is going to be dressed up like. So it's definitely a fun event. And we already have 10 teams signed up. So we're running out of spaces. So more information, get in touch with Jason over at the Main Street office. And then one last thing I wanted to bring up is that Art Street is we're really running with that this year. And that's for the banner art along Washington Street. And what we've done in the past is that it's always been open to the public for students, for adults, and we give people who are interested a blank canvas. They come up with a painting of how they see Two Rivers. If we have too many, if we have too many people who are participating, then we have to go over to a juried selection. But basically, we're going to just fill Washington Street with these really cool banners that will feature local art. And so we're doing that. And just so you know that we already have 20 canvases that have been distributed. We still need 10 artists to come and get canvases. Just know that you've got until March 15 to do all this and to get your artwork in, so there's still some time to play with. Adult artists pay $20 and youth are 10. But we're going to get a lot of publicity on this year, and to really kind of help highlight Two Rivers in the downtown.
Have you guys reached out to the school system on that?
Yeah, he has.
Oh, good. Yeah, good.
So, and actually that was our first couple of interested parties with schools.
That's awesome.
So, but Jason, we have 28 opportunities? Okay.
Yeah.
And 20 are already spoken for, hopefully. They might not get their pieces back, but I mean, it's looking really good. So, so if you know of any artists that might want to participate, please have them get in touch with Jason over at Main Street office. It's a lot of fun, and you'd be surprised at how creative a lot of people in this city are. So that's what I got.
Okay. Anybody else? Bill?
Committee on Aging met this morning, and the biggest thing that came out of that is everybody needs help. Everybody needs people to do. Rec department needs people for cutting grass and so forth, and running the concession stands. Scoring for baseball, just that simple. The school system is looking for part-time teachers, and they said you don't need any schooling or anything. You can go and apply, but there's very strong need for that. The senior center needs people just to help out. The transit people. Trustmobile needs people. We really need to get involved and sign up to help out down at the senior center. That was the biggest.
Thank you.
At the last personnel finance meeting, we went over the city council goals and objectives for the year, which was discussed at the last work session. And our next meeting is Wednesday at 6.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Kicking it over to Greg, city manager's report.
Okay, we do have invited guests this evening, so I'd like to ask Pam Stevens, along with other volunteers from Relay for Life, to come up and tell us about 2023 Relay for Life. Again, happy to see that countywide event here in Two Rivers, downtown Central Park. Ladies, the floor is yours.
I'm PJ Stevens, and I am one of the volunteers that helps out with the Relay for Life. But I'd like to open up by saying, how many of you have been affected by cancer? Either personally, you are a caretaker, or you just know somebody. I know the camera can't see all the hands but almost everybody in here has been affected by cancer.
Thank you. I'm Sharon Wondrish, and I'm the event lead for Relay for Life. And I want to thank you, first of all, for having us here this evening. Like most organizations, it's a plea for help. And we've enjoyed we've had the Relay for Life now 27 years in the city of Two Rivers. And we've enjoyed it. We had the help at the high school for many, many years. The last couple of years, we've had it in Central Park. And it's just a real joy to be able to see the survivors at the event and how they've grown through the years, which tells us that what we're doing is worthwhile. The funds that we're raising, a lot of it goes to research, but a lot of it does come back to the community in offering rides to treatment centers, Look Better, Feel Good. Some of the beauty parlors and haircut places are on board with helping people adjust to having their hair loss. So they tell them to cut their hair ahead of time and get it shorter so that people get used to you with short hair instead of long hair, or vice versa. Some of us are lucky enough to get really curly after we've had treatment, and then some of us still stay kind of straight like I am, but that's okay too. Our event is going to be held July 28th in Central Park West. They told me it's going to be ready and willing to go, so
Got it,
we're going to
Jen.
be there. And it's going to run from 5 until 9 is going to be our event. 6, we're going to have the honor guard from the American Legion and the VFW come in again. They present the colors, they do the Pledge of Allegiance, and we do the national anthem before we get started. We have a speaker at 6 o'clock. We have a silent auction going on through the whole time that we're there. In the past, we've gone a little longer in the day, so it usually ended at 10 o'clock. This year, it'll probably end like about 8 o'clock because we're only going from 5 to 9. We're looking for volunteers to join our committee. We have a committee meeting coming up this week, Thursday. We're going to meet at the fabulous library, as we mentioned before. They're letting us use the Webster Room. And we'll be there from 5:30 till 7. If anybody at all would be interested in joining our committee or even just volunteering at our event, we always need help with setting up, tearing down, somebody to kind of watch over the silent auction tent. I probably sound like other organizations. We need volunteers to do these different things. We also have an area where our survivors can meet, and we usually try to have some special treats for them and things. And then we do a walk. We have a survivor that will speak at our event at 6 o'clock. And then after that's done, then we'll all walk around the park. So it's going to be interesting this year to see just if we're going to do the whole block or if we're going to do part of it. A lot of that is still in the planning. I went on the website and got a map so I could show it at the meeting this week. But if anybody at all is interested, I'm the event lead. So you can call me at 920-323-3017, or you can email me at srwondrish@yahoo.com. If you're at all interested in any way or by any means helping with the event, I'll be glad to take that in mind and answer your phone calls. If I don't get it right away, I will get back to you. That's a promise. Let's see. I did make myself some notes so I wouldn't forget anything. Yes, we're looking for teams, participants, and also, like I said, committee members. We're also looking for different businesses to sponsor. I've got quite a few that have come back every year and sponsored for our event, and I enjoy having them, but we're always looking for new, fresh blood, and that's how we feel with the volunteers too. We get some fresh people in on the committee, and to help with our activities, we can get some maybe new ideas as to what we can do to make it even better for the community. The community intake has been just fabulous every year. It amazes me. They set our goal last year at $45,000, and we raised over $51,000. So that just tells you how great the community is as far as helping us, and we appreciate it all and have enjoyed having it here. and just want to keep it going. So spread the word. I think that's it unless anybody has any questions for me.
Round of applause for Relay
Yes,
for
I was
Life
just
and
gonna-
everyone that makes it possible. Thank you. Yes. From Washington High out to Two Rivers High School to downtown. 27 years, did you say? 28 this year. That's amazing.
Thank you
Way to
guys
go.
for all you do. That's an important organization, so
Way to
thank you.
go. Awesome. Okay, city manager's report, a few things to share tonight. Kudos to Jeff Dawson for an outstanding photo of sea smoke over the entrance to the harbor when it was about 6 below the other day. So beautiful shot taken early morning down by the harbor. Staffing updates. We have a bunch of news this evening. We are actually today applications closed, at least to assure consideration. I guess maybe they close at midnight to assure consideration of applications for fire chief. I'll be reporting to the Police and Fire Commission on that when they meet on Thursday. We are also currently advertising for a recreation supervisor position, and to be assured of application, that your application is considered. Those should be in by Wednesday of this week. We have several positions that we've been working on filling that I'm pleased to report are now filled. City Clerk and Human Resources Director, Jamie Jackson submitted her resignation in January, earlier this year. She has taken a position in accounting with the Luxembourg Casco School District. And I've really got to give that young lady a shout out for the work she did in just shy of 2.5 years with the city of Two Rivers. She really moved our clerk's office and our elections processes forward with automation, with Badger books, not only making things more efficient, but elevating the level of service to the general public in the process. Also was a real team player and assisted with any number of things, the upgrade of our website, development of the tourism website, fundraising activity, and some of the creative elements for Central Park West. Jamie was all in her position, and we certainly wish her the very, very best. But like she said, she was able to leave not feeling too guilty because we have an excellent new city clerk coming on board on Valentine's Day, Amanda Barenbrook, who is presently serving as deputy city clerk for the city of Manitowoc, a post she's held since January of 2021. And before that, about 3.5 years as administrative support specialist within the clerk's office. Will be joining us. Amanda also earned her bachelor's degree from Lakeland College in December of 2020 with a concentration in human resources. So very well qualified, again, young professional, very much up on technology. In fact, she came and assisted in the training of our election workers with Badger books, worked hand in hand with Lisa and Jamie. So we look forward to welcoming Amanda on the 14th and welcoming her at the council meeting on February 20. We will be continuing to see Lisa from time to time at our meetings because we're going to be setting up a rotation for clerk and deputy clerk to cover meetings. So, Amanda will be a great addition to our team. In Public Works, the vacant administrative assistant position has been successfully filled. Sue Riley starts on February 20. She'll be working here on second floor, providing support for engineering, also providing support for the Public Works Division down at Lake Street from this location. Sue is presently is a senior administrative support specialist with the City of Manitowoc Department of Public Infrastructure. She's worked with that city for about 30 years. She also has her bachelor's degree in office administration from UW-Whitewater, and we look forward to welcoming her on board as part of the team. Also very pleased tonight to announce the promotion of an outstanding employee for the past going on 9 years with the city, Travis Christensen, who is our Public Works utility person, has accepted the promotion, applied for and accepted the promotion to Street Division Superintendent, Public Works Superintendent. effective today. And actually, Travis is here as our guest tonight, and Matt Heckenleibel, our Engineer Public Works Director, has some additional comments to share. We'll get Sue Riley here for a future meeting, by the way, and Matt can likewise do a more formal introduction of Sue.
I'll try and keep my comments brief. Let's see. Actually, before I start, I want to acknowledge the efforts and skills that our acting foreman, Steve Pagels, has put forth over the past 4 months as we've been searching diligently for the superintendent position. Steve has kept us moving forward since Scott Dusing had resigned back in early October. So Travis has about 14 years of trades experience in the construction trades, and he worked for 12 years with Keller Structures, starting in the basement, footings and foundation, and has worked his way up the ladder, so to speak, to top off roofs and things of that nature, acting as a crew lead over at Keller Structures. Then he decided to try his hand at residential construction. Did that for 2 years with a local contractor, home builder out of the Whitelaw area, and finally came to his senses and came to us in about 2014, where he again worked his way up, and as of this morning was our Public Works utility person, basically taking care of our signs, street markings, and things of that nature, and everything else that Public Works does. And at 7 o'clock this morning, he officially became our superintendent, overseeing everything that we do. I look forward to working with Travis and mentoring Travis along the ways to help him continue to improve our Public Works sector. So, Travis Christensen.
Thank you.
I can say Travis has shown a lot of creativity and initiative in his current position with signage, a lot of the things you see with the city logo being deployed in our parks and other public spaces, and a lot of creative solutions to issues that we've challenged him with. So he heads up an outstanding crew. We've heard comments relayed through council and from the public. We got a darn good crew at Public Works, and we trust that under Travis's leadership, we'll see them continue to do great things. So thank you. Always good when we see people moving up in the ranks. Again, we're still recruiting for fire chief and that recreation supervisor position. Jamie also launched us on some really great software for our ads, which look pretty snappy for municipal ads. It was referenced earlier to the director of tourism position and the media and marketing coordinator positions. Just as I've noted here, the city's also begun recruitment for a new full-time director of tourism and an approximately 20-hour per week, 20 to 25 hour per week position of media and marketing coordinator. Those positions, as was referenced earlier, will report to the community development director and will assist the room tax and the board of the new 501c6 organization, Explore Two Rivers, Inc., in tourism promotion and development activities. Both positions are being fully funded by city room tax revenues. So we've got some high expectations there, from our room tax proceeds and from what we all see in the community. The tourism sector in Two Rivers has been growing strongly. We want to keep that going and show a return to the whole community, and particularly to our lodging establishments, both congregate and those individual vacation rentals, which now number over 50 in the city. So stay tuned on that one. Also, just to close the loop on something, both Wisconsin DNR and FEMA have confirmed their approval of the new floodplain zoning ordinance. that was adopted by this council. Oops, January now has a Q in it. Sorry about that. That's me. On January 3rd. It was kind of interesting because at the same day, the email came out from DNR saying they'd received the ordinances approved by council. A certified letter came to the council president saying, if we don't get your ordinance by February 28, you'll be out of the National Flood Insurance Program. Well, Elizabeth, our community development director, quickly confirmed with DNR, and DNR then had FEMA circle back with us that we're in good standing. They just have their routine where the letters come out. So we're in good shape there. Little bit of narrative here. I don't think Andrew is here tonight, but we had a little bit of excitement on Sunday morning, January 29th. You might remember it was pretty cold out that morning too. Water utility personnel were alerted by a plant alarm that basically there was a heck of a lot of water going somewhere in the city. The pumps kicked in at the plant, the water elevations in the towers were dropping, and at a point we exceeded the capacity of the shore well to bring more water in from the lake. You don't always know where those leaks are. The last big one I remember was inside the Paragon building, and that was real exciting a few years ago in January. But within 3.5 hours of this call, the crew did note that just a little ways behind McDonald's, in the, I'll call it sort of the front area of Seagull Marina, there seemed to be a fair amount of water bubbling out of the ground. And so within 3.5 hours of getting that initial alarm call, they responded. They were able to quickly close some valves and isolate the problem section of pipe, which is the fairly new river crossing that I'll speak to in a minute. And then the water plant was able to return to normal operation. Later on that coming week, with the aid of Mammoth Construction, they excavated and found there was a failure at the connection point where a 14-inch diameter plastic main, HDPE plastic main, that was pulled underneath the harbor in 2015 from what is now Coast Guard Park to the area by Seagull. The failed connection point there was the problem. And after they dug it up and repaired the connection joint and then chlorinated the main and it tested safely, the river crossing was put back into service on Saturday, February 4th. No customers lost water service as a result of the break, and the rough estimate is that this joint failure released about 500,000 gallons of water in about 4 hours. So that's about half of a full day's consumption for the city in 4 hours. That failure, by the way, was pretty similar to a failure that happened in 2018 at the other end of the same fairly new main over by Coast Guard Park, when the street over at Harbor and East River erupted due to a similarly separated joint. So that 8-year-old main is outside of any warranty at this point. But plastic has memory, and I guess the simple and engineering confirmed this. So I'm not totally winging it. When you stretch about a 500-foot section of HDPE pipe, pulling it in, it does have some memory and tends to contract, and it contracts more when it gets cold. And sometimes when things contract, they become disconnected. So that main underneath the harbor, that's better to have a leak at one end or the other than underneath the harbor at least. But it ought to be in good shape now because it's failed at both ends over the course of about 5 years. So great job by the water department, and we thank them for their initial response in some pretty cold conditions and promptly addressing the situation. We just noted a full summer of events. They are out there both on the Park and Rec Facebook and website sections, whether it's at the beach, downtown, or elsewhere around town. Just some examples there. Both community events sponsored by community organizations like Carp Fest and the Carp Fishing Tournament, Beach Bash, to Cool City Classic Car Show, to events organized by the city and sponsored through our special events fund, downtown, at the beach, all over town. Similarly, you can find more information on those various events on the Explore Two Rivers website. And this is some of the detail that's there backing up the calendar items on Explore Two Rivers. So also some very interesting information posted and authored primarily by Sally over at the library on the Explore Two Rivers blog that's out there on Explore Two Rivers. Was mentioned earlier, opportunity to have your art on display all summer long downtown. And I'll put in a plug yet again for Main Street's art program. About 28 locations, 20 spoken for so far. Get in touch with the Main Street office by phone or shoot them an email. And Jason was sharing, when I asked him a little bit ago, there are some cases where a parent and child are each doing banners. So that's pretty cool. Main Street. Back in the realm of tourism, I think we shared these at an earlier meeting, but the new visitor guide, a joint effort of the cities of Two Rivers and Manitowoc, has been printed and delivered in a quantity of 20,000. Copies have been distributed to various local attractions, and they are available locally for pickup either at the Community Development Office at City Hall or the Main Street office downtown. The guide can also be viewed online on the city's website and on explore2rivers.com. And there you see the cover of the guide featuring that beautiful shared resource that is Mariner's Trail, and also the Two Rivers greeting that is on the interior of the guide right next to the greeting from our neighboring city. And we both have our QR codes out there, so you can quickly go right to Explore Two Rivers in our case. So well done. There's a learning curve. This is the first time in that the two cities have worked jointly directly to produce a guide, and I'd submit it's a very nice start, and hopefully the sign of a lot of good cooperation to come, even with separate tourism organizations. Those two silos can talk and cooperate, and they are. So thank you. Thanks especially to Elizabeth Runge from our staff for working with Manitowoc's tourism staff to pull this together. It's a nice piece. Police Department has implemented their newest generation of body cameras. This is already the fourth generation of this technology in the TRPD. And Drew, I kind of winged it, but it's been over 10 years, 10 or 12 years, I think, since body cams were first deployed, put into use in the Two Rivers Police Department. So again, consistent with that history of being a smaller agency, but also a leader in the use of new technology and new methods. You've seen in recent years a lot, this is me, not the PD saying it, but a lot of larger PDs having bake sales and seeking donations for body cams. Two Rivers has made good use of the technology, and with council support, this upgrade was a capital budget item in the 23 budget. And likewise, because we want to see good young people that are interested in careers in policing, get involved and have the opportunity to learn more about policing. Again, a great job by the Two Rivers Police Cadets this year in a joint effort with the Mishicot chapter of Police Cadets at the 2023 Wisconsin Law Enforcement Education Advocates Association, WALEA, conference. That was over in the Dells in January. And the combined team, as noted, took first place in several competitions, a disorderly conduct scenario, force options, traffic stops, and then one of the Mishicot cadets, Spencer Lawhead, took fifth in the male physical agility solo event. So we thank Officer Brooks from Mishicot PD, our officers Propson and Tobeson, and also Lieutenant Drew Rates, who has worked for a number of years very closely with the Two Rivers Police Cadets posts. Some great young people. In addition to learning a lot, participating in these competitions, they help out a whole lot of community special events and are really a valuable resource. So we thank them. Central Park West 365 update. We still are in that neighborhood of closing in on the original $800,000 goal. We're right about at 780. I know from a Facebook post this weekend that I think it was class of 74 from Washington High School attained their $1,000 goal. So they're getting a 16 by 16 paver. We still see paver inquiries and sales happening on a regular basis. I didn't put on here, but should have. The city, through our community development office, did submit last week, Tuesday, the application for the Vibrant Spaces grant program from WEDC that we hope will be able to provide some supplemental funding and get us over the top. By way of follow-up at the January 23rd work session, after talking with the school district, we also talked about options for possibly retaining versus demolishing the old stage in Central Park. I would point out, in case you've seen speculation otherwise on Facebook, the plan right along was to remove the old stage, but then there had been the question raised quite legitimately, could it be reused? Could it be economically relocated? Our feeling as staff and the consensus of council was at an estimated cost of up to $85,000 to move it, put it on new footings and foundations in a new location, and then even beyond that, get into the expense of putting walls on it if it was to be used as a storage facility. That would be too expensive. Our best estimate from Public Works using in-house labor and equipment was in excess of $30,000 to take the old stage down. City engineer and rec director did reach out to Vinton Construction, which has some mighty big, mighty nice pieces of equipment for getting the job done. And they have quoted us $14,500 to take it down and properly dispose of the old stage. I think the concrete would end up down at Public Works for recycling. Everything else, unless salvaged, which some of the steel might be salvaged, that will cover the landfilling costs as well. So my basic question is, where do we sign? That's the more economical alternative, and that's how we're going to pursue it. We had budgeted $50,000 for city force account labor doing things in the park. Obviously, this is an alternative to spending some of that money on the demolition work. So nothing nefarious, and no, we didn't forget to include money to take the stage out. But it's coming out a whole lot cheaper this way. Not related to that, but on the topic of the new stage, we did want to share with you the artwork submitted and selected for the metal panels that'll form the backdrop for the Schmidt Brothers stage. This rendering with waves and the night sky, I think those are stars, they're not fish jumping, was both designed and will be fabricated by the Raider manufacturing classes at Two Rivers High School. So that's really great too, because then the young people at the high school both played a key role in a structure that'll be there for a long time. In terms of construction timetable, Mike Mathis, our Parks and Recreation Director, who's done a wonderful job of taking on the coordination of this project, which is good because it could really jazz up most of his summer programming if it wasn't well handled. And he has a great skill set in that area, has laid this out, showing the major tasks, including not in the park budget, but closely related, because one is in Central Park West, one in Central Park East. We've selected the replacement signs for the digital signs, which were a budgeted item in the capital budget. Those are going forward and actually should be completed by March. New bases, the bases for the existing signs are tipping, and they'll both be clad with the stone veneer like the pavilion building. Pretty closely matches the community house stone. So the new digital signs will be going in. The bandstand lighting completion by our Public Works and electric crews. Sound systems installation by the sound system vendor working with electric utility crews. They're happening hopefully in the month of March. Completion of the bandstand roof once those cable runs for the sound system and electric runs are totally encased in the bandstand. That should be completed. That's why you see some of the sections of roof that look like the tongue and groove is kind of slid off to one side. It's not falling apart. That's in anticipation of the wiring work. The old bandstand removal, we expect that Vinton is going to mobilize actually at the end of February, get that out of there pretty quickly, because Koenig Construction from Sheboygan, the subcontractor that's building the pavilion building, is eager to get on site in early March and start their work. So that's all very encouraging. The city concrete work, waiting for warm weather, April into May. The landscaping work, April into May. We expect, based on their latest reports, that Koenig and Vinton will end their work by about the end of May. We'll leave a little room in there for contingencies, but that's their current projection. Installation of the donor signage, furnishings, and other finishing touches, which are direct purchases by the city. Mike and Lisa notably have been putting a lot of time into that. We met 2 weeks ago with Formrite, HMF, Dave Waggy's company is going to be providing at significantly reduced cost the park furnishings made right here in Two Rivers, which is way cool. Potential return of concerts to the park. For sure, we expect by Sunday, Thursday in late June, maybe before that. Kind of got to have some contingencies there and there in case some things don't go well. But we are, based on feedback from Vinton and Koenig and our people that have been involved in it, we're absolutely confident. I'll say it again, absolutely confident. Dedication on July 15 and the overall park dedication on Sunday the 16th will be in good shape. Still putting a program together for the 16th. We already had scheduled at the beach, but they'll be coming downtown, the Spicy Thai Band in the afternoon. Lakeshore Wind Ensemble's annual concert in the park, which is always a very nice concert, already scheduled for the evening of the 16th. We'll be reaching out to see where around that time things might work for the municipal band. No slight intended there. We had someone reach out to us concerned about that. This is just all falling into place within the last couple of weeks, but it's looking good. It's really looking good as far as the timing and not losing a whole summer season, which is amazing. So I think we can thank an outstanding local general contractor in Vinton, and Koenig are no slouches either because they've been right on top of things. So questions? We're looking good, guys. Our amazing Leicester Public Library. Now get this one. A couple years, 3 weeks ago maybe, I was talking to Jeff and he said, I've got something to tell you. You can't tell anybody else, but we'll be announcing it shortly. The American Library Association recently named Leicester Library as one of only 15 libraries in the country to host a museum quality exhibit looking at the history of human migration, 250,000 years of human migration. This exhibit was developed by the American Anthropological Association and the Smithsonian Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage. When you look at the list of where it's going to be, you see institutions like the Houston, Texas Public Library, San Jose, California, Kansas City, Kansas, Columbus, Ohio, New Rochelle, New York, some other good-sized cities, and oh yes, the Leicester Public Library in Two Rivers, Wisconsin. So that exhibit will actually be April into May of 2024. Each of the libraries on the tour receives a $500 stipend to conduct local programs and activities. I expect there'll be a lot of network through regional and state library associations. This is a big deal, and frankly speaks to the willingness of the outstanding library we have and the willingness of library staff to stretch and seek to bring these opportunities home to Two Rivers. So I'd welcome any other comments, but first of all, round of applause. If our council rep to the board has anything else, just feel free.
You know, a lot of people are like, oh, it's a library, but a library is part of your center of your social infrastructure in a lot of places. And when families and other folks are looking to relocate, it's one of those amenities that they really appreciate. And we actually have a staff, I've learned since I've been sitting on the board, that are known nationally. Two Rivers is on the map nationally for the kind of quality staff and the programs that they put on. Other libraries want to model ours. So kudos to them. They are just fabulous. Jeff, you're just fabulous.
Yep, hats off. Yeah, that's great work, Jeff, and you got a great staff down there all together. People under you, but you oversee them all. So obviously you're the guy that gets the credit here, as you should. And the rest of your staff plays, I know, a vital role for you. So hats off to you guys, because that is a big deal. When you look at these names, Houston, San Jose, Kansas City, Columbus, and then you got Two Rivers of all 11,000 people. So that's pretty stellar work.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Moving on, just a reminder, the proposed amendments to the golf cart ordinance as discussed at the last regular meeting will be coming back for council consideration at the February 20th meeting. And that relates to making the licensing numbers bigger and requiring them in 2 locations on the golf cart. I'm going from memory here, so this might be rough. Addressing, if feasible, and the police department's researching that further, the ability to require the
Belt.
same sort of safety restraints for kids under 8 and under 80 pounds as apply in regular motor vehicles, and making sure that our ordinance, where it currently conflicts as it relates to just a few streets that have 35-mile-per-hour speed limits with state law, is indeed consistent with state law. That was the direction from the council at that meeting back in January, and we'll have that back in front of you for the next meeting.
Wasn't there headlights, taillights possibly too?
I thought it was pointed out at least one headlight and taillight is, and the visibility distance for those are required. I don't believe that was part of the council direction at that point.
I'll have to look back. They have 2 though, I thought we talked. Yeah, so it'd be 2 and 2, I thought. I'd have to go back and look.
We'll take
Yeah.
a look. I don't think that was part of the motion.
I'm sure
but-
Jamie has the notes and Lisa, yeah.
Yep. Okay. As far as upcoming events, the Parks and Rec Department, Creative Partners Paint Day, Friday, February 10, 6 to 9 p.m. I assume this is over at the community house somewhere. We didn't note that here. And there's information there, and you can register through the Parks and Rec Department. Sweet Street was mentioned earlier, this coming Saturday, February 11th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Get your ticket and get a box and stroll through the downtown and pick up sweets or sit and nosh on them along the way. And I would just point out, this is a family-friendly event, but if you want to stop and have a drink somewhere on the way, nothing stops you. It's just there are not designated spots serving samples. So you can ask them to fortify your hot chocolate or whatever. But that's still an option. But have a great time. It sounds very cool. And kudos to Main Street. Primary election.
Can I
Yes, please.
point out one event that was left off there? Kiwanis Pancake
Oh,
Breakfast
yes.
is on Sunday. It is a Super Bowl Sunday tradition to go for your pancakes and support the Kiwanis the morning
point.
of Super Bowl Sunday. So it'll be out at Mahoots. It's $5 for your pancake breakfast. You get 2 sausages with that, but you can buy extra sausages. I always do. And I also make sure to get a Bloody Mary before we go and have pancakes. But if you like mimosas, that's an option for you as well. But certainly head out to Mahoots and support that great organization.
Scotch and pancakes probably all right too, I suppose.
It's a bartender's choice or your own choice, whatever they got. So
That good reminder. Long-term Super Bowl tradition. We do have a February primary coming up. There's only one matter on the ballot, but many people would argue it's an important matter, and that is the primary for state Supreme Court justice. There are 4 declared candidates whose names appear in the order shown on the sample ballot there, and the intent of the February primary is to narrow that field down to 2. The 2 top vote getters will proceed to the April ballot for final selection there. You can do absentee voting at City Hall starting tomorrow, February 7th through the 17th. That's during that period, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., regular business hours here at City Hall. Bring along your photo ID. And again, it is the race in February is solely related to the state Supreme Court, the primary. The business spotlights continue on the city's Facebook page, and I know there are more in the hopper in production that'll be posted shortly. This latest spotlight, long-time wonderful downtown business, Dalabrew Jewelers. And I tell you, it's always great to see the number of people that like, respond, comment on those posts, and certainly feel free to share those all over the community. We, of course, have an April election here for City Council. 3 of the 9 council seats are up for election, and the candidates in the order they will appear on the ballot are Dean LaRose, Ron Abney, Darla LeClaire, Bonnie Shimalunas, Shannon Derby, and Adam Wahusky. So no primary for that one in February. The election in April, top 3 vote getters will serve 3-year terms on the city council. I know there's been contact from the League of Women Voters about sponsoring a candidates night. which would be live streamed from here in council chambers, probably available for, obviously for folks to view after the fact. I've also heard some discussion at recent meetings of the Two Rivers Business Association. So we'll share anything if those groups finalize plans. And I know they'll reach out to the candidates on their own. We'd also like to congratulate Two Rivers Rotary. This is a big year for Rotary. 2023, the local Rotary Club celebrates a century of service, 100 years of service, founded in 1923. And I can only speak to the last 25 years, but really an integral part and supporter of so many wonderful projects in the community. And their commitment to service for a relatively small group, they have a big footprint and a big impact in the community. So we thank you, Two Rivers Rotary, and I'm sure there'll be a point where we'll bring a resolution to council and invite officers of the local Rotary Club in so they can be acknowledged. I did a quick Google search just to see, well, gee, how old is Rotary overall? And it was founded by Chicago attorney Paul Harris in February of 1905. So Rotary International, or what became Rotary International, is what, 118, only 118 years old. The Two Rivers Club celebrating 100 years. So that's pretty cool. That's all I have for tonight. I do want to mention, I didn't have slides on these. The Two Rivers Utilities are again offering scholarships this year. This is funded through the commitment to community dollars that the state requires that we take off your bill to help fund community activities and energy conservation measures and other things. And those are two $500 scholarships, Brian, that are available to students, provided their parent or legal guardian is a customer of Two Rivers Utilities. Doesn't matter what high school you go to, but your household needs to be a customer of the Two Rivers.
Could be a business as well, if you.
Could be a business. That's a good point as well. Yep. I would also mention in the past month, I had occasion to attend a couple of weeks ago, the Friends of Mariners Trail annual dinner, which was over at the Senior Center, about 50 people in attendance there. Mayor Crawford and I both thanked them for their continued service to the community with the trail gardens, 50 gardens that are volunteer tended out there. They selected their Trailblazer of the Year and recognized other volunteers. Also, I had the opportunity on January 19th, along with Mayor Nichols, to talk to the Manitowoc County Board of Realtors. We had a lot of fun at a breakfast meeting, talking with the realtors about things happening in both cities. And we heard loud and clear that in both cities, the realtors would like to see more opportunities for new home construction, more availability of lots in subdivisions. And I said, well, trust me, we're working on it when it comes to the Sandy Bay subdivision, where I think I had shared, at least with the CDA. I should have had a slide on this. I'm sorry. We have already this year had a commitment for the purchase of 2 additional lots at list price, $32,000 a piece, for construction of 2 more spec homes up there. There are 4 lots left in phase 2, 2 lots left in phase 1. So only 6 lots left over at Sandy Bay subdivision right now. So that's all I have. And this is a photo actually the night before that wicked cold morning by the city manager on leaving City Hall and headed out and saying, gee, better stop and take a picture. So another great, our harbor never disappoints. That's my report for tonight. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Greg. On to the consent agenda. Under A, we have presentation of minutes. There are 3. We have a city council meeting of January 16th, 2023. We also have a city council special work session on January 23rd, 2023, and a city council work session on January 30th, 2023, with a recommended action to motion to waive reading and adopt the minutes. Under B, minutes of meetings, there are 3 of those. The recommended action is a motion to receive and file. Under C, applications and petitions, we have 1. We have an application for a temporary Class B/Class B retailer's license from Roncalli Athletic Association for TRCCS volleyball tournament, March 4th through the 5th, 2023 at the Two Rivers Community House lobby and gym at 1710 West Park Street in Two Rivers. Recommended action is a motion to approve the application and authorize issuance of the license. And D, TID 4 closeout audit report. The recommended action is a motion to receive and file the report. The recommended action for the consent agenda overall is a motion to approve the consent agenda with the various actions recommended. Looking for a motion on the consent
I'll
agenda.
make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Second by Darla. Any discussion? Yes, Bonnie.
Could you remind us of what TID number 4 was?
Sure. Yeah, and in fact, I was just glancing through the report again, which is in your packets. TID number 4 was created, I want to say in 1991 or 1992, for purposes initially of aiding with the redevelopment of the old Harvey Ready Mix property and some adjacent properties, a site that became Lakeshore Park Apartments, the two 16-unit apartment buildings next to Lakeshore Park and the library. There were plans for a third building there that never transpired. It paid certain developer costs. It paid for city acquisition of a portion, not of the main line, but the old Chicago Northwestern spur line that actually was that section of track the runaway train took before it went in the drink in the harbor. That was acquired way back then to aid in that development. Over time, it was amended to help with some projects along Madison Street, including construction of a parking lot that now serves the sports bar and the Big Loads Laundry, which lost some on-street parking when the Madison Street Bridge got replaced, and it helped alleviate that situation where some on-street parking was eliminated. It also, with that amendment, council approved adding to the plan business grants, and there were, among others, the laundromat got a grant to put some solar water heating equipment in. It was amended one more time over the course of its life when Bank First National made plans to purchase land from the city in in Lakeshore Park and build the new branch bank there. And at that time, the project plan was amended and funded construction of the trail segment that courses through the library grounds and Lakeshore Park right past the bank. So it's been a TIF that the city's gotten a lot of benefits out of. Over the course of its life, there were project costs or project expenditures totaling $1,034,000. Oh, I forgot, along the way, it paid for most, if not all, of the cost of constructing Lake Street, the new street that serves for access to Bank First National. And then we did extend the life of the TIF, council did, one more year to set aside funds for affordable housing as permitted under state law. So this TIF ran its full statutory life. And with this closeout audit report from CLA, this makes it official that monies were spent for the right purposes, and this TIF is closed out. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Any other questions or council discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Okay, on to number 11, city council formal items. Under A, city manager's appointment to boards, committees, and commissions. The city manager is requesting Douglas Brandt, Environmental Advisory Board, to a term to expire May 2023, filling a vacancy by Larry Thomas's resignation. The recommended action is a motion to approve the appointment as recommended by the city manager. Any background on that, Greg?
You have a volunteer application from Mr. Brandt in your packets. You note he has a background in environmental and civil engineering. You note he has a good working knowledge of groundwater and geology. And so interested, he has a strong technical background. Recommend approval of his appointment.
Okay, looking for a motion on that. Thank you, Scott. Do I have a second? Darla? Second by Darla. Any council discussion? Seeing none, this is also an all in favor vote. So all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you.
As I mentioned earlier, we do have another vacancy on the Environmental Advisory Board. So anybody interested, certainly you can call our office. There is a form online for board and committees, or call our office. We'll be happy to email one to you.
Okay, under B, resolution establishing grant program to assist homeowners with tree planting on private properties. Recommended action from the EAB Environmental Advisory Board meeting of January 17th, 2023. The recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the resolution. Greg, any background in there?
Do a quick intro. Darla and Tracy may have some comments on this as well. This, the possibility of expanding and improving on an existing grant program that's been offered for several years through the city's electric utility, again, from commitment to community funds, had been discussed at EAB. The formal recommendation came forward out of the January meeting to basically earmark $5,000 in the electric utility commitment to community funds, which is feasible based on discussions with Brian Delman, our utility director. And to match that with $5,000 from the city's tree planting fund, where there's $30,000 budgeted this year, that would leave $5,000 for the planting of trees on public properties. We've got various points in here. The thought is that any property owner in the city would be eligible for a 2/3 grant on the cost of an eligible tree, up to a maximum grant of $100 per tree, 3 trees per property owner. It anticipates a pre-approval process, so it doesn't get over-committed in terms of what funding is available. And so there would be the need to file an application with the city, and people would get written pre-approvals, and basically we'd get those on a first-come, first-served basis. There'd be a requirement for submittal of documentation back by June 16, Friday, June 16. Otherwise, if there was a backlog or waiting list of applicants, the city'd reserve the right to revoke the pre-authorization for the first person, hand it on to the next group, or make use of the tree planting funds elsewhere. There are a number of public benefits to tree planting on public or private properties, which are in the preamble to the resolution, everything from cleaning the air to aiding in the reduction of stormwater runoff and soil erosion, physical, mental health. Members of the committee may want to speak more to that. We are, even if this is funded out of our tree planting budget, which ultimately is funded by the environmental fee on people's utility bills, that would leave $25,000 for public tree planting, in addition to the budget for trees and shrubs in the Central Park project, which is about $15,000 worth. I know at the work session last week, because this was addressed in the context of council goals, there was some concern about using money from the tree planting program. I would offer that another alternative might be to partly fund this $5,000 from the stormwater utility. Again, given the known benefits of tree planting to reducing stormwater runoff from properties, both public and private. That's my intro. I think the resolution is responsive to the recommendation of the committee, which again came out of their January meeting.
Okay, if either one of them want to speak on it, they can. Just make sure that we're not, as the rest of the council, engaging until we have a motion on the floor.
What I would like to say about it, let me just say this, is that ever since we kind of resurrected the Environmental Advisory Board, I have learned so much more than I ever anticipated. And one of the things that I learned was just how much more beneficial trees are to our community. It goes above and beyond beautification. It can help increase your property value, which then is a snowball effect, and it can only do, the only thing it can do is just improve what you have. And then also it's not just cleaning the air, it does deaden noise. The big thing is the storm events, because it's kind of like the trees are kind of like chaparral, and it's it's going to contain the water, not let it wash over your sidewalk and into the street. And it helps to reduce your home and business energy consumption. You put trees on the south or west side of your property, deciduous trees, and it could help with shade during the summer, which will cut back on your utility costs. And also in the winter, the trees will have shed their leaves, but they do act as a windbreak. So if you ever have a chance, just read the read the entire resolution because it gives you a lot more information. And you will be hearing more about trees in the near future. As you could tell tonight was kind of almost like Environmental Advisory Board night. We've got so many different things that are going on. And Tracy had alluded to it before, the fact that we want to become a more sustainable community and a little bit more forward thinking. So I'm just thrilled that we're able to do this, or at least present it to the council.
This is really just augmenting a program that was already in place through the utilities. They already provided, if you put in a tree, you could get reimbursed for some of it, following those guidelines on the west and whatever, and it has to be deciduous. So, my holly tree,
Pretty,
it has to, right, yeah.
rough ornamental.
Right, it can't be, most ornamentals, I'm not sure would work, but, it's not a new program.
Looking for a motion to waive reading and adopt the resolution. Thank you, Bill. Do I have a second? Thank you, Scott. Council discussion on this. Bonnie?
Who's gonna monitor all this stuff? I mean, you have to make sure that they call hotlines and things like that. It has to come from a nursery. You have to have your receipt. Who's monitoring this?
Brian's gonna
I
speak
will
to
address
that.
that.
Oh, you are?
Program that
Okay.
we run, we actually have to physically go to the property,
Yeah.
inspect that they actually did plant the tree on the proper sides and the caliper of the tree is correct. We actually get the form filled out by the customer. It gets submitted to our office, and then we verify through Digger's Hotline that they actually did go out and locate.
Okay. And then are they gonna be putting it in the terrace or on their
No,
property?
it has to be on their property.
All right.
Thank you. Any other council discussion? See, Jeff?
Doesn't it seem like that would actually pretty much just help the people that already can afford the trees? For the most part? I mean, if you can't afford a tree, you're not gonna, so the city's gonna give you $100. I can't see them taking $100 out of their own money to plant a tree regardless, you know what I'm getting at? It seems like you're just helping out a group that basically doesn't need the help. That's what I get out of it.
Yeah, you'd have to come up with, and I think, if you shop around, you can find a 1.5-inch caliper tree or bigger at most garden centers it depends, but you can also find them for under $150. But it does require that inherent in it, you gotta have the 1/3 of the money to come up with it. And it is on a reimbursement basis, so yeah, some people might just say right out of the chute, I can't take advantage of this. That's possible.
Anybody else?
And again, it takes the grant funding from 50% up to 2/3. So maybe that gets somebody into that eligible or, gets them interested. I think that was part of the committee's aim with it.
Well, a big part of it too, it's a great motivator to get people interested in getting those trees on their property, because look at the benefits that you get from it. Maybe people have been on the fence about, well, I want to plant more trees, or maybe I'll wait. This is a fantastic motivator. And like I had said before, we need to shine a spotlight on sustainability, and this is a beautiful way of being able to do that.
Anybody else? Okay, and this, obviously I love trees. I have a couple trees in my yard. I just don't know that we need to be in the business as a tax base of funding this, especially through our utilities that we just raised, midsummer when we went up $2, maybe not necessarily this utility, but we went up in utility costs by $2. And now it seems like we're gonna take some of that money and we're gonna help, I guess, private citizens landscape their houses for them. When I think that should be really something that's done on their own. And again, that's my opinion. I don't think we really need to go out there and pay for people's landscaping. Again, it didn't pass unanimously, but it did pass when we increased the utility costs. And now that we have a larger utility fund, now we're trying to just spend it to individual houses for tree planting. I don't know that I agree with that.
Can I step in here for a
Sure.
second? If this program, the city portion is funded by, it's coming out of stormwater fund.
Well,
is what
the
we could do.
resolution reflects it coming out of the tree planting fund, funded
mean-
by the environmental fee.
Right.
That was another option that I identified if council wanted to go that way.
You know, but this money is already being earmarked for these purposes, you know, anything to do with the environment. Right now, I mean, if these are going to be very beneficial to aid in our storm runoff, you know, because like right now, we've talked about it tonight, the TMDL is not done yet. Hopefully it's not a big kick in the face when the DNR has it completed. But trying to mitigate stormwater runoff is a huge burden on so many different communities. It costs a lot of money. So anything that we can do to prevent a lot of this runoff, it's helping the entire city. It's not just beautification of somebody's landscape. There's much more to it.
I was hoping that this would go more towards us putting trees in the terraces, like after we did construction, somewhat similar to what we did on like 17th Street, what's coming up on Lincoln Street, what other street? Don't we have two construction sites this year?
We could still do some catching up on Madison from a couple
Madison
years ago.
is another one where we kind of took trees down, 24th Street, where we took trees down in people's terraces when we redid their roads. I was hoping that some of this money would go to help them replace kind of what we took away, or in cases where we increased the terrace, that we now gave them an option where they could actually put a tree where they couldn't before, to kind of do that is what I was hoping.
17th Street is a great candidate for that
Right.
because the terraces in some areas got a lot wider
Wider.
over there. Yeah, this isn't, and again, I think, you know, the points you raise, Adam, are very legitimate as a matter of public policy. Does this council want to further subsidize plantings on private properties, albeit with public benefits, I think, that have been cited? I would just point out, if it comes out of the tree planting fund, it would leave $25,000 for those kind of plantings, which is I think it's about 5,000 more than we spent last year. So in round numbers, that's probably about 100 trees, 2-inch caliper planted on streets or in other public places. But obviously, $5,000 is, do the math quick, Greg, that's about 20 less of those public trees if you look at the opportunity cost. So.
If that money's going towards environmental anyway, wouldn't it make more sense to pay towards the street sweeping in the fall? Which is environmental, that's why we have to pick up or the leaf pickup, one or the other. It's all environmental.
Well, the environmental fee is part of the revenue base that pays for street sweeping as well. So.
Supplement with that as well. Right.
Your
I mean,
mic's off.
earmark that money that was for that could also go, because it is environmental in the first place.
Yes.
My gosh, I was. There we go. Yeah, I was just saying yeah, I mean, the city's solid waste utility, which is funding tree planting through the environmental fee. I guess, yeah, the environmental fee, which actually, I'm sorry, part of it goes to the solid waste utility, which includes street sweeping. Part of it goes over to tree planting and tree management. So I kind of misspoke. It doesn't come out of the solid waste utility, it comes out of the environmental fee, which most of its money goes to that fund. So the environmental fee is helping to pay for street sweeping right now.
It
Again,
also helps
it's-
pay for garbage and recycling too. Yes.
And fall
Okay.
leaf collection.
Fall leaf collection.
Yep, that whole bundle of services.
Okay.
So, but you're right. I mean, there's always an opportunity cost. When you spend money for one thing, it's not there to spend for something else.
Anything else? Any other council discussion on this one?
I
Bonnie.
just want to clarify, so this money is coming out of stormwater fund?
resolution in front of you identifies it as coming from the
Is this a
tree
one-time
planting
thing?
fund.
or
It
a
is
month?
identified, I should have mentioned that earlier. If you look at the resolution, it makes clear it's meant to be a pilot program subject to reevaluation by the council as you look at the 2024 budget.
Yeah.
But right now, as it's proposed, the funding would be from the tree planting fund. I did suggest in my comments, if the council is supportive of this concept, but not comfortable with the tree planting fund as a source, another source in whole or in part for that $5,000 could be the stormwater utility. There are other cities that have gone, I'll say whole hog with paying for urban forestry from stormwater. I'm not recommending that. In fact, one that our public works director just came from kind of went whole hog that way. But right now, the resolution in front of you would take it out of tree planting. I just offer up if the council likes the idea but would prefer another funding source, that other funding source appropriately could be the stormwater utility in whole or in part.
Okay, so this is taking out of stormwater or not?
This is taking out of tree planting.
All right.
Yep. If you
Because-
want to make a
and I
motion
wanna-
and amend
I
it,
just want to say
could come
something. I don't like how everybody is always eyeing up that stormwater money. I mean, I've heard other people making comments in the past about, yeah, that stormwater fund has money in it. And we haven't used it yet because we haven't needed to. It's there for stormwater. I kind of hate seeing it go to other things, that's all.
and that's
Didn't we add money into tree planting though from stormwater?
the council, when they approved this year's budget, reduced the portion of the environmental fee going to the landfill
The
fund.
landfill. Thank
And
you.
because expenses there are down and the fund balance is recovered to a decent level, and redirected 35 cents a month. So the portion of the environmental fee, which I think is $7 a month, going to tree planting and urban forestry went from 35 cents a month to 70.
Okay, that's the one. I knew there was one. I just couldn't remember which one it was. Got it. Anybody else? Council discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Lisa?
Adam Wahusky,
No.
Jeff Dulke,
No.
Tracy Coach,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Jason Ring,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimelonis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser.
Aye.
We'll be getting some social media and press stuff out on this. We'll report back and let you know how the applications come in. And of course, as pointed out, by the end of September, we'll get a wrap-up report. It's a pilot project. Council could choose to expand on it, keep it going, or get rid of it.
And this is something that we were gonna try to team up with maybe Green Acres and the Arboretum.
Yeah, that was some really good
Discussion
discussion
there.
at that January meeting, which included, we don't have any nursery outlets or anybody that sells trees in town right
Mhm.
now. But Green Acres just up the road, maybe they'd like to offer a promotion. The Vanderbroek Arboretum has offered for people to be able to piggyback on their order because they purchased 750 trees last year. So that'll be one of the first steps after tonight would be to reach out to John Durbrow and see if there's a willingness. I don't think we sole source it and tell people that's where you gotta go, but it might really help, get better pricing.
Yeah, and if we have a place for them to actually go and kind of say, hey, here are some options, that might be a good idea for us to do that.
And actually with a local not-for-profit, the council with a subsequent action could sole source it. I wouldn't recommend sole sourcing it to one business in preference to another because, but yeah.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
On to C, authorize 3% wage adjustment for city manager, recommended from the Personnel and Finance Committee meeting on January 4th, 2023. Recommended action is a motion to authorize and adjust as budgeted and based on performance relative to the 2021-2022 city goals, effective January 1 of 2023. Looking for a motion on this. It's pretty self-explanatory. Greg
I'd like
doesn't
to
have to
make
Quite all
explain.
right.
Thank you, Darla. Second by Tracy. Any council discussion?
I wasn't gonna open my mouth because
Yeah.
I might get some no votes, you know.
Yeah,
but
you
better
don't,
be
I
quiet.
don't, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You don't have to,
That's all right.
you don't have to validate it for me. Roll call vote, Lisa.
Jeff Dalkey,
No.
Tracy Coach,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Preachy. Petrie, sorry. Jason Ring,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser,
Aye.
Adam Husky.
Aye.
Motion carried, 8.
Good, thank you.
You got for information only, Greg? or you-
Information only, just Jeff mentioned it earlier, our committee chair, the Personal and Finance Committee meets on Wednesday of this week, 6 PM. May start a little late because we have two members that have, maybe here a little bit later. But the meeting will be ready to convene at 6 o'clock. Primary item on the agenda is to talk with representatives of Robert W. Beard about the upcoming borrowing for 2023 city capital projects. I know Dave Buss, our finance director, has been working on preliminaries, things like our official statement, and that would be for borrowing to the extent borrowing was identified in the approved 2023 budget. I'm not able to be there Wednesday night, but Dave is available to cover, and our rep from Baird will be here in person. We've requested a special meeting. We talked about this at the last work session for next Monday, February 13 at 6 PM. That's not typically a council meeting night. Single item on the agenda, and that would be to review and take action, hopefully, on any bids received for the playground project at Neshota Park. In order to be able to avail ourselves, and so any bidders can avail themselves of a discount or a pricing structure offered by Little Tykes Commercial, their Wisconsin rep, Northland. We need action in that timetable. The price lock doesn't make it to the February 20th council meeting, and we needed time to do the class 2 notice for bids. So if I could ask again, how many council members? I know last week it looked like a quorum. How many of you think you could be there for what ought to be a 10 or 15-minute meeting on next Monday? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're looking pretty good there. So that is the same night as Plan Commission, which will convene here in Chambers at 5:30. We'll post the council meeting for across the way. And Adam is on Plan Commission, but I'm sure I know this is near and dear to your heart as a council member and advisory rec board meeting, but we might take a short recess of Plan Commission. We'll just play it by ear. Thank you.
Are you gonna sorry, don't want to
Yeah.
interrupt, but are you gonna let Robert W. Baird know that we will probably be a little
Yeah,
bit
I
late
think-
with two?
If you want to let them know, it may be more like 6:15 before we'll have a quorum, Dave. I don't think they were zooming in. Justin was coming, right?
Okay,
Okay.
just that they're aware. Thank you.
And then, of course, we got a regular meeting 2 weeks from tonight on February 20, work session on the 27th. As we get closer to that date, we'll see what you might want to discuss. I will be out of town the 27th, 28th, 29th. Both Brian and I've got the American Public Power Legislative Conference out in Washington, where I'll try to take some time and talk to some of our congressional staff reps about our harbor issue we talked about earlier. So that's all I have. No closed session tonight,
You're spoiling us.
I tell you.
Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Thank you, Jeff. Second by Jason. Council discussion. Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you and good night.
How can we possibly get 2 meetings in a row?